Hey, thanks so much for joining this episode of Dream Achievers. This is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, and this week I'm joined by Alex Mayfield. Alex has an amazing story to share, how he created this business out of nothing. Just simply the fact of his giving heart and being able to spend time with other people and help them out with what was important, which was fixing their car. Now, unfortunately, when we sat down, had a little bit of a technical difficulty, so this episode's going to be a little bit different, that we're going to pick up in the middle of this conversation, and you guys are going to hear a lot of the story from Alex. I will get Alex back on, that we will share the full story here in the near future, but this is amazing as we go through. Now, one of the things I need you to do, if you don't already, be sure down below, hit that follow button. It's what allows us to share the stories of people in the area that are making a difference and helping out in their communities. You can help out by sharing this episode with other people and making sure that you like it so you never miss an upload. Every single week is ideally what we're doing, but I want to go ahead and kick it to the interview with Alex, and that way you can hear about Big Al's mobile mechanic.
Welcome to the Dream Achievers podcast, where we focus on business owners and purpose-driven leaders in our local communities. We meet people every day where we shop, eat, and do life, and want to bring their stories to you each and every Wednesday. Now, let's get to this week's guest.
All right, so I know that at some point in time along the way, obviously somebody influenced you that you got interested in mechanicing to even get to this point. So you want to share a little bit as far as with that?
Yeah, so my dad, he grew up as a wild child, and, his dad was kind of the same way, but his dad wasn't very mechanically inclined. So, my dad just had to figure things out and work on them, and so he did, and ended up getting a job pushing a broom at Penske Trucking in Washington State. And from there, he became a service tech, and they sent him to mechanic school, and from that point on, he just continued to work his way up into becoming the shop foreman for Penske. And he was in a snowmobile accident. He hit a Toyota pickup doing 130 on a snowmobile.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and broke his back and his jaw, and he was in the hospital for 3.5 months. And he come back, and about 2 months after he got out, released from the hospital, Penske calls him and says, we need you back, and we need you back now. So he went back to work, and then from that grew into taking another position with Worldwide Equipment, which is Blue Ridge Kenworth, and they ended up transferring him here to Bristol, and he ran that shop for about 10 years until he went on disability for his back. But he's just a guy with the mechanic's brain, man. Anything that runs, if it's got a motor, he knows how to do it. I'm not fortunate enough to have that brain. I have to work a little bit harder to figure things out, but I just grew up always. I think I learned how to change the oil on a semi-truck when I was about 10 years old, and just kind of always been around it, but always been, my dad was the type of guy that he would absolutely help me figure something out motor-wise, but it was more of a go figure it out. If you need help, holler at me.
Yeah.
And so I did.
You got to have those points where there's resistance to where your brain has to work in a different method to try to solve it.
Absolutely,
And I know for you, as far as with kind of your if you would say your normal 9-to-5 job, you're using your brain in a different way.
Right.
So it's probably a relief whenever you're having to hit those blockages.
It is, and it's fun to me. It's a challenge. We can have these diagnostic tools that tell us everything and all that, but there's still a point of having to have a starting point somewhere. As great as these diagnostic tools are and how they can help us electronically, mechanically, they can only do so much. They don't tell us that, hey, you've got a head gasket leak, or there's a hole in a piston, or, things like that are much more in depth. But you have to find out where these things are, and you have to take these appropriate steps to get there.
Well, if it tells you, hey, this sensor's out of range, that's great.
Yeah.
But the sensor might not be malfunctioning.
100%.
It's just giving you the reading.
Why is that sensor out of range?
Exactly.
What's causing that sensor to be out of range? And then it's, normally it's unfortunate, but when you have a mechanical issue with a vehicle and it's throwing this code, a diagnostics code on a computer or your scan tool, that's normally linked to other things. Normally it's not just one code. Normally there's 3 or 4 different codes. I worked on a Suburban that had 7 different codes, that all those 7 different codes linked down to being the oxygen sensors on a car. It was running horrible, losing fuel mileage for a $47 part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I shared with you about my poor van. And when I first started looking things up, the rabbit hole that you go down is, originally it says you need to replace the throttle body.
Yeah.
And you can't just replace the sensor, you got to replace the entire throttle body. So that was $300 or $400 to do that. And then somebody else said it was something else. And then, so you just look at this rabbit hole of other people have a similar experience, and here's all the things that they've thrown at it. And then what it happens to be is that it's just a dirty ground that needs to come off and be
Right,
put
something
back.
as simple as
Just a
could be.
broken ground wire or a fray or whatever it is that's causing. But you get into that and you go, this literally might be fixed with electrical tape.
Right.
Or I could go spend $700 throwing things at it because the sensor says that it's bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for instance, I had a guy that he had a van and it kind of started running a little rough on him and shuddering, and it said it needed a EGR, so he changed the EGR. Well, as soon as he changed the EGR, the camshaft position sensor and the crankshaft position sensor went off. In my experience, anytime you get those 2 codes, you've lost your timing. It's jump timing, timing chains broke, something like that. And before even going out to diagnose his car, I had explained it to him because, I didn't want him to pay for me to come out and do a service call, for me to tell him that, listen, I'm sorry, but your engine's toast.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it says it just needs to be soldered. The wire just needs to be soldered. And sure enough, I go out and I said, I'm sorry, but right here's your timing chain, and I just pulled it out. And
Ooh.
it's like, it's things like that you start to, over the years of doing it, you start putting together, and you're like, okay, these 2 codes, they shouldn't go off simultaneously. And when they do, it's really bad. And so it's just learning those things and knowing those things, and just years of doing it.
So what for you has been kind of the biggest challenge, either with getting started in the mobile mechanic space, or just in general with starting up a business?
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but I know that you're probably watching this and you're worried about when can you actually afford to retire. Well, good news. We can help you out with that. Find out what it's going to look like for you if you keep walking down your own financial path. Do you have enough money? Are you saving in the right places? Are there anything that you need to watch out for that maybe you're not planning for, like if you get sick or hurt and you can't work? Or what happens if you need long-term health care in retirement? All those things we address in our financial pathway plan. So if you haven't already, be sure to click the link down below so that we can schedule a time to have a conversation. No cost, no obligation to be able to do anything, simply my way of being able to reach out to you and help with the things that you're worried about because you're a valued listener. Thanks.
Well, I think, as the mobile mechanic, people see it and think, oh, that's expensive. They're going to come to my house and that's expensive. And we've talked about that of, we don't have that overhead. And so that's a barrier that I have to break through of in my marketing for this of letting people know, hey, we're not as expensive as you taking your car to a shop, and you don't have to wait. You don't have to sit there for hours upon end for things to be done. But then it's everybody has their mechanic they go to, and that's tough to break that barrier because people trust their mechanics.
Well, you've got somebody that says, Mom and Dad took it to this place on Main Street. When I could start driving, I went to the same place. And you assume that, okay, that's where it's always bend that we
Right.
went, that's where I'm supposed to go.
Right, exactly, and you know, we're not trying to take that from anybody. You know, I've always said there's plenty of business to go around. You know, the average family has, you know, 3 or 4 cars to each family. You know, so there is an influx of vehicle business to go around. We just want to offer something that is more accessible to people who work all the time or have families. And so we want to offer something that you don't have to take time away from your work or from your family to go get your car worked on. Or, you know, single mom who's just trying to make ends meet, you know, she can't afford to go and, you know, pay a tow bill on top of a shop bill and have her car in the shop for 3 or 4 weeks because they're so booked up. We want to break that barrier for people. You know, our biggest thing is to serve people. We're very honest and we just want to help.
Well, you know, when you said as far as being able to serve the Lord through serving people,
Yeah.
and you can share that as far as with going out, and that you're like, listen, this is not kind of the typical way of doing it. We're breaking that cycle. I'm making it easier for you,
Right.
so that you can get back out and do your thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to wait. We don't have to call the shop and try to set the appointment, and okay, it's 2 or 3 weeks out, and what do I do until then?
Right.
You know, we're not in an area where you're going to go grab an Uber and
No.
make it to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Take you up to White Top, you know.
You're going to pull it up, and it's going to be like, sorry, the nearest car is 2 hours away.
Yeah, exactly,
So-
exactly. And so we're trying to fix that of, you know, and it's 2025. People are busy, you know, and I can't believe we're already in 2025. But you know, life seems like it's just getting more hectic and faster paced. You know, so for us, you know, we're trying to say, okay, let us give you a little bit of breath. Let us handle some of this for you. Let us serve you and help you. Definitely for people who don't know mechanics.
Mm.
You know, we encounter a lot of times people who just, they're tore up because their car won't start. And it could be just a dead battery or a starter, or, you know, their car's running rough because a coil pack went bad and so it's misfiring. And they think they're going to have to go spend $50,000 on a new car because a $30 part's gone bad, or, you know, just any of those things. They just don't understand that, you know, things can be a lot simpler than what they really perceive themselves as.
Well, it can be intimidating.
It can
when
be.
If you go to a car show and you open up the hood of a 56 Chevy and you're like, that looks simple.
Right.
Versus if you open up the hood of a 2025 Silverado and everything's covered in plastic and sensors and all these things and everything's computerized, that can be daunting. Because maybe you grew up at a point in time where you were used to going out and wrenching on it.
Right.
You know, you would tune the carburetor, you would do those things, and then now you open up the hood and you go, nope.
No,
not touching it.
you know, where's my laptop at?
Yeah.
You know, because that's what it is. You know, growing up, you know, with a dad who, you know, was a baby boomer and, you know, muscle car freak, and, you know, we grew up going over to Bristol Motor Speedway for Mopar weekends, and, you know, we grew up with muscle cars. We had a 72 Challenger RT, and, you know, those things that we grew up on is not what we see anymore at all. Now it's, you have to have those $10,000 diagnostic scan tools to just even look in the inside of a car.
Well, just like cars have changed, you know, I see the same thing that changes on the financial side, that as we modernize problems that people had years ago. When my grandfather, I can remember, you know, him calling his broker to say, buy or sell something.
Right.
That broker got paid whether he bought or sold.
Right, absolutely.
But now you instantly get an alert on your phone that it's like the market has done something, and people will knee-jerk react. They're like, I've got to run, I got to do this. That's something that never would have happened. You were waiting until the next day when you open the newspaper to be like, oh, okay, that happened. What do I think about it?
Yeah,
It wasn't that
perfect.
knee-jerk and then jump to things. So things evolve, they change, and you have to adjust with that.
Right.
You can't get away with doing the same thing that's been done.
Absolutely, and you know, and those knee-jerk reactions, those happen, you know, in day-to-day life, in business life, you know, in every aspect of life nowadays. We are so fast-paced that it's what can I get done right now? Right now. I had a lady call me the other night. My wife and I celebrated our 8-year anniversary, and so we went out to eat. And I had a customer call me, and she was like, I'd never worked on her car before. I've never talked to her, but she said, my car's pouring oil everywhere. Can you come look at it tomorrow? And she had left me a voicemail, and I called her back probably 10 minutes later, and she's like, I'm sorry, I found somebody else, thanks. And you have to be on top of those things because people just don't wait.
Yeah, it's that instant. If you don't feel gratified instantly, and it's on to the next.
It's the continuous search of gratification.
Yeah, it's and you just got to make sure that you're prepared for that. You go, hey, you know what? Maybe if this was the only thing, but I'm still going to spend that time on my anniversary celebrating with my wife.
Absolutely,
it's okay that I missed that.
This whole Big Al's mobile mechanic, honestly it formed from a joke of me working on people's cars, here and there, and I've just done it over many years, being the church mechanic, but I had some buddies that just kept calling me Big Al's mobile mechanic, and so it just blossomed into I could really serve some people and help people in a time that they don't understand how serious or not serious the situation is, because they just don't know.
Well, Alex, if somebody is out there, maybe right now they're listening to this or watching this, and they say, you know what, I got something I need looked at. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So they can call or text me. My number is 276-274-9763. I'm on Facebook, Big Al's Mobile Mechanic. They can reach out that way. Really, just any way. Texting is probably the quickest way, just because I'm kind of on the go all the time. But anything anybody needs, they're more than welcome to reach out, and I'll do anything I can to help anybody.
Awesome. Well, I'll link that down below so that way you can kick over to his Facebook. You see all the different services that Big Al's offers. You can see that to be able to enjoy. And if you don't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Dream Achievers. This is Andy Young, the Mountain Money Man, saying I'll catch you down the road. Thanks.